Hello everyone and welcome to another casual review. Today I'm talking about Stray. In this game you assume control of a cat and you are separated from your cat pack? I don't know the actual word of a group of cats. Anyway, after a series of events, you're kind of stranded in this mysterious post-apocalyptic world where humans no longer exist and this world is mostly inhabited by these robots with these monitor faces. Pretty soon you are accompanied by this little drone named B12, and B12 does all the talking and interacting with objects for you. You are equipped with a tiny little cat backpack that carries B12 and any associated items that you may need for your adventure. It's basically like another one of those indie, puzzly, artsy type of games. Visually though, it is very good looking. It is this three-dimensional, beautiful world, but almost like a hauntingly beautiful is how I would describe it, because it does have that post-apocalyptic setting, and so there's some eeriness to it, but also like it looks really good, especially on like a PlayStation 5. As far as what you'll be doing, it kind of has a couple different sections to it. Like there's some parts where it's more open and exploration based, where it's more like point and click adventure. It actually reminded me a lot of like Untitled Goose Game, where you assume control of an animal and you're basically trying to set up a series of events in order to accomplish like a certain goal. A lot of the times you may be like annoying the robot residents by doing typical cat things like knocking things off of ledges or tripping them. And so there is some humor just acting like a cat. There's segments where you like hop on a keyboard and the keyboard types in a bunch of gibberish, or you're basically just like scratching and destroying things. There's other segments that kind of play more like stealth, where you're trying to stay out of the light because you don't want to get caught. There's a lot of puzzly type of elements where you're trying to set up certain objects, but you only have the facilities of a cat, and so you kind of have to think of like how a cat could navigate this particular area. As far as like control wise, you have the ability to jump pretty high and pretty far. You're gonna like jump on a lot of different switches. You have a dedicated meow button, which is totally awesome. It doesn't have a lot of functionality aside from a few exceptions, but it is just fun running around and clicking on that meow button. Sometimes the cat does make noises where I'm not really sure if like a real cat would make those type of noises, but I don't have any cats of my own, so my knowledge of cats is rather limited. I mean, and you could just do like other cat things. You can drink out of puddles, and you can scratch on a rug or on a wall. You can find like little nooks to take naps in. And there's a lot of times in this game where I think it's more about the atmosphere than the actual gameplay itself. Like, surprisingly, in a post-apocalyptic world, there are a couple cozy moments where you can just take a little cat nap and the camera will slowly pan away from you, and then your controller almost like replicates a sleeping cat, where it will purr and it will vibrate like a cat. And then the music is more like synthy, almost lo-fi at times, and sometimes it can be rather cozy during like these moments where you're taking your cat naps, and other times it is more like eerie and creepy depending on like what segment you're playing through. As far as the robots themselves, B12 will be doing all of the interpreting for you, and I don't know if B12 just has the ability to turn the robot language into a language that the cat can understand, but either way, the cat knows what the cat needs to do in order to progress through the story. Again, I don't know a lot about cats, but from what I understand, even if the cat understood what B12 was telling it, it probably wouldn't care, but again, that probably wouldn't be much of a story-driven game if the cat just did whatever it wanted. For the most part, these robots are pretty nice and happy, and when you meow at them, they'll smile at you, and you can like cuddle up next to these robots and do things for the robots, and the robots do things for you. So it's cozy in that aspect. The non-cozy aspect of this this are these little weird organic creatures called Zurks. And they basically can like hoard all over you, and they would actually be kind of cute if they weren't trying to devour you whole. And so there are some puzzle elements where you kind of have to like avoid these Zurks. There are certain sections where you're trying to run away from them, and they're just pouring out of the ceiling and the wall, and it can actually be kind of creepy. And the interesting thing about these Zurks is they kind of set up the environment almost like a nest where there's a bunch of like weird organic webbing like all over the wall. It almost feels like something's taken straight out of a Resident Evil game. These Zurk segments are actually probably the most interesting aspect to me personally gameplay wise. I definitely liked navigating these creepy weird Zurk segments than doing more of like these point and click adventure type of stuff in the robot cities. But the point and click adventure type of segments seem to be the main focus of this game. The Zurks maybe take up a third of the actual gameplay. As far as collectibles go, there are certain segments where you can interact with these points of interest because you're trying to retrieve all of B12's memories, because B12 doesn't have like any knowledge of its past or where it came from or anything like that. And so you'll find like different murals on the wall, and B12 will get a new memory and express it to you. And it does have a percentage based on like how much memory you have retrieved of B12. I think I got to 60%, so I certainly didn't 100% complete this game, but I would interact with all the objects that I did come across naturally. There's also like other collectible type of things. Like there's one segment where you can potentially find all these different music sheets where you give them to a particular robot, and the robot will play like these little songs for you as you can snuggle up next to it. I mean, these collectibles, as far as I understand, they don't do anything gameplay wise, but if you're just looking to spend a little more time in this game, then you can certainly seek out those collectibles and get all the achievements, which you may want to do because this game is fairly short. I believe it took me around 3-ish hours to beat, which normally wouldn't be a problem, but admittedly, I did spend a little more money on this game than I normally would for such a short game. Normally, gameplay time doesn't really affect my reviews that much, but if I'm spending $30 on a game, I kind of expect to get a little more out of it than 3 hours. But there is a lot of memorable moments in this game, and it is certainly a unique game. It's definitely the best cat-based game I've ever played. Actually, you know what? I think I liked Cat Quest better, but it's one of the most enjoyable games where you play as a cat. And thematically, it is very unique with these like talking robots, and there's this whole mystery surrounding around like where are all the humans and how did this world come to be? What's the whole backstory with like B12? As far as like the puzzles themselves, I never felt too frustrated. I rarely got to the point where I gave up and needed to look something up, and usually the only reason I would need to look something up is because I was missing a piece of the puzzle rather than I can't assemble the pieces of the puzzle together, if that makes any sense. I did really like the controller features in this game, how it just replicated these vibrations of playing as a cat, and the sounds that come out of the speaker. That's always a really cool feature. Overall, I think I will give this game a 3 out of 5. While it is certainly a unique game, I feel like gameplay-wise, I was never entirely hooked. I think the most invested I was while I was playing the game is during these creepy Zurk segments, and so I think this is my brain telling me that I am just more in the mood for something like Resident Evil than a unique point-and-click adventure. If you can find this game for a deal and you're into these puzzly indie type of games, I do recommend it though. Well guys, that's it for me. Let me know if you have any questions or comments about Stray, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. Otherwise, I will talk to you later. Bye!